Fantastic. So I will move to our today's topic, which is strategies to succeed at the workplace. It is a session where we are going to be discussing a few tips and insights on those tips that will help us succeed at the workplace. So making good use of the chat box, let's see what makes workplaces complex today. It's a question, please drop on the chat. What makes workplaces complex today? If so, if you feel they are complex, if you feel they are not, you could also drop on the chat what you feel or what you think or what your perception is or what your experience is about the workplaces. Please feel free to drop, just giving time so that you can drop on the chat. And Abby, you will help me with that. I'm not,
okay.
Yeah. What makes workplaces complex today, if at all?
Unethical. So we have unethical practices and corruption, rigid cultures, misaligned goals. Okay, we're expecting more.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we have for now.
Okay. If you've just joined us, we are starting and we are...
Micromanagement, have one.
Sorry?
Micromanagement. Diverse data-driven management.
Okay.
Ambitious folks. Okay, I wanted to read this.
Okay,
Ambitious
read.
Folks who wants to get to the top by all means, even using unethical practices.
Of ambition.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, I like that. I like all that. And they are all our experiences, things that we have come across. So there is no right or wrong answer, but those are some of the things that make workplaces complex. Before we go to our introduction, what makes workplaces comfortable for us? If you're here, I'm sure you're working somewhere, you're running a business somewhere. What makes the workplace that you're working from comfortable? What gives you a wow experience?
Okay, we have some other people dropping in on the last question I asked. So
Okay.
we have here over expectation from employers and office politics. That's for the previous question. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think we can move forward then in that case. So in the workplaces, for a workplace to be, for you to have that wow experience in a workplace, and we do take cognizance of the fact that workplaces can be complex based on the facts that you have actually dropped on the chat and others that you may not have dropped, but you have experienced. A great workplace will require a great team, and a great team is made up of you and many others. So a workplace is not just a boardroom, an office, a laptop, a company car. It is all those tools plus the people. And therefore, you see, people take the center stage to be able to make this workplace a pleasant place for each and every one of us to work. Your success actually at the workplace goes beyond doing your work. But before we delve into that, what does success mean to you? What does success mean to you? Because success means different things to different people. Success means different things to different people. There are those people who, for them, success is a promotion. Success is a new job. Success is recognition at work. Success for some people could be a pivot in your career. That means moving from the career that you have been in for a long time and then pivoting or moving to a different career. For some, success could be a pay increment. It could be, for those who are in business, maybe turning around huge sums of revenue. Some it could be, all those things that we define success to be at the workplace. But before you even talk about success as a person, do you know what success means to your organization where you're working? That is the starting point, so that you can be able to align your success, or rather what success means to you, to what success means to an organization. And somebody will tell me, do I even know what success means to my organization? Is there anything like success to an organization or to a company? Of course, that is why that company exists. So for some organizations, success could be, growth in market share. For other organizations, maybe it could be growth in revenue. For some organizations, it could be innovation. For some companies, it could be a highly working or a high-performing workforce. So you need to be able to understand what success means to your organization so that you can be able to align. And align means mold whatever success means to you to be able to fit or to move into the same direction that the organization is moving into. For example, you can imagine if an organization's measure of success or meaning of success is increment in revenue. For example, growth in revenue, not increment, growth in revenue. And you are not aligned on the same line. For example, you are a salesperson and you rarely achieve your target. You can imagine what that means. It would mean misalignment. So what we are saying here is it goes beyond your job description. So some of us have a job description that they tick boxes every day. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Does that mean success? That is what we are going to look at today. So I've just picked a brief description of success, and there are so many descriptions of success. There are so many descriptions of success. So this one for me, for the sake of this session, I've looked at it as achievement of something that you have been trying to do, and that is by Collins Dictionary. It could be financial, it could be career, it could be life. So it is success, wanting to achieve something or achieving something that you've always wanted to achieve in your financial status, in your career. We've talked a bit about career, in life, if you want to get married, if you want to buy a home, all those things. Financial, we've also mentioned and talked about it. So I needed to drop that so that we all know what actually we are talking about when we talk about success. Achieving something that you have always wanted to do. Now, what are some of the strategies that would help you to be successful at the workplace? The starting points, remember we are talking about the workplace. You move from your home, you go to the workplace. The starting point, Abby, you can admit I'm seeing a few people. So you need to be able to understand your organization. The workplace where you are. If you are employed somewhere, you need to be able to understand your organization. Understand your organization in the sense that you do understand the environment that you work in terms of the mission. What does the organization exist for? Why does it exist? As you sit here today, You may not answer it on the chat, you may not write it, but do you know why the organization you work for exists? Ask yourself that question. There are some organizations, for example, if you are in there are some organizations that exist to make an impact. There are those that exist to make revenue. There are those that exist to uplift lives. For example, if you're in a telecommunication environment, you could say that, or maybe you could be in an organization that in a telecommunication that exists to be able to connect those who are not connected using data, using voice, helping people be able to call from one end of the world to the other. So you need to be able to understand why that organization exists. And I'll tell you why as we move along. Do you know the goals of the organization? What does it aim to achieve? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to June. In June, most organizations do a pulse check of where they are coming from, where they started in January to where they are today. As you sit here today, do you know the goals that the organization intended to achieve this year? Do you know them? Do you know what it aimed to achieve in terms of maybe the number of customers, in terms of the money they wanted to make? Do you know it? And do you know your contribution this far to those goals? Do you know the values? What is important to that organization? As we talk about values of the organization, yourself, do you know your values? What is important to you so that you can be able to align the same to the organization? There are those organizations that value things like integrity, professionalism, collaboration, all those things. Are you aligned? You can imagine in an organization that values collaboration, and you're one of those employees that is discussed in the boardroom as somebody who does not play teamwork. You can imagine the misalignment that somebody talked about when we were asking what makes these organizations complex. If we are talking about an organization that values integrity and honesty, you can imagine the things that somebody has dropped on the chat box, that unethical behavior, things like corruption, could make a workplace complex. So you can imagine if you find yourself on that side of the world, where you're caught up in issues of unethical behavior like corruption, in an organization that values integrity and professionalism. Integrity and honesty, sorry. No matter how many tick boxes you ticked in your job description, you know what that means. That means that you are actually curtailing your success within that organization. So you also need to know the belief system of that organization, which we talk about the culture. The other strategy you need to be able to take note of is managing up, managing down, and managing across. What do we mean by managing up? We all work in an organization where we have managers, we have executives, we have people that are slightly below us, and we have people that we are almost at the same level. Those are our peers. How do you work with those people? How do you ensure that you're managing up, managing your line manager, managing your executives, managing the leaders in the business? You know what? Many people actually believe that it is the responsibility of the manager to manage them, or it is your responsibility to manage your manager. Many people believe, that it is the manager's responsibility to manage you. But do you know it is the reverse? It is your responsibility to manage your manager or to manage up. How do you do that? You need to be able to understand your manager. What do they value? What do they stand for? What are their pain points? When you know all those things, then you know how to approach your manager. There are some managers that are, they are very busy. On a day-to-day basis, they are very busy. And you're actually that person who keeps knocking their door every now and then to go and actually ask a question. You're asking like 100 questions in a day. You know, you're hired because of your expertise so that you can think of solutions. It is good to ask questions, but ask the questions to yourself first, have come up with a proposal, then go to that manager ready with a proposal. There are managers who don't like stories. They want you to be straight to the point. When you know that your manager doesn't like stories, they are straight to the point, then you organize your thought process when you're going to meet them, when you're having a discussion with them. There are managers that they are extremely attentive to details. They value attention to detail. When you have such a manager, then you need to be able to also be attentive when you're doing a document, when you're doing a proposal, when you're presenting something. Because if you're not, you're going to feel very frustrated because your manager will always say, no, go back and do this, simply because you are not attentive and you've not studied that person. Also, you need to know what are their pain points as they sit in that position, so that you can be solution oriented. You know, every manager wants to work with somebody who they know. I'll pick a phone and say, Purity, I've come from a meeting. This is what is required. We need to organize this. And you're not going to be saying, okay, so can we do next week? You're actually there and saying, by the end of the day today, I will have come up with something. You don't have to be a perfectionist. You just need to have the initiative and understand your manager. The people below you, never underestimate what we call the gatekeepers. You may actually see that somebody works below you, but those are some of the people that will actually give you intel within the organization. They are the people who may open doors for you in those executive offices. So you also need to know how to value them, how to deal with them, how do they operate. And then across, those are your peers. Actually, each and every one of us needs to have their peers on board. Or when I say on board, I mean on your side, because these are people that you can easily be vulnerable with, and you need to be able to actually reach out to them. A phone call, I'm struggling with this presentation. I've been asked to go for a meeting very quickly this afternoon. I'm not ready with the data, or I have the data and I don't know how to interpret this data. Your peer will actually be able to give you that kind of support. But most importantly, your peers also give you feedback. You need people who can give you feedback, and authentic feedback. And also you need to be open to that feedback so that you can improve. We improve because of the feedback that we are able to get from the people. So what we are saying is add value. Add value. Find places where you can add value to your line managers, the people that work below you, and even your peers, because you're also reaching out to them to add value to you. Then the next thing is lean on your professional assets. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the things that you can't delegate. You cannot delegate your professional assets, and your professional assets is your personal brand. Personal branding and personal brand is so broad, but for the sake of this session today, I choose for us to look at three things: communication, your dressing, and your relationship with peers. And we've already talked about relationship with peers. But now when it comes to dressing, how do you dress in your organization? You may be in an organization that has a dress code or a policy around dressing. Do you even know the policy? Have you ever looked at it? Do you know what it says? Do you contravene that policy? You may find yourself in an organization that doesn't have a stipulated policy on how to dress. But remember what we said? Understand your organization, number one. So you need to also be able to know the kind of organization that you're working in. You can imagine you're in an organization that is highly professional, and they want that professional look. They are always in suits and ties and stuff like that. And then you show up one day yourself, you're always showing up in jeans, in, something that is not on that line. When a discussion happens in the boardroom and they're actually looking for somebody who they can maybe send to represent the organization in a meeting externally, or even in a meeting internally, or even to take up more responsibility, do you think your name will drop there? If that is the kind of organization that they are in, a highly professional looking organization, they will not. That is not to say those are the only organizations that we work in. You could be in a tech organization that is quite easy. If it is quite easy, also know what easy means so that there is no level of indecency. we say dress the way you want to be addressed. And we also go further and say, if you want to be a CEO, then you need to dress like a CEO. Because when you meet with him or her on the lift, they will spot that person who actually sort of looks like who they are. And that is how it is. Communication. How do you communicate? It speaks to your brand. And when we talk about communication, we are talking about verbal and non-verbal. We are talking about email communication. On email communication, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention that sometimes your emotional intelligence steps in. Sometimes somebody may send you an email that is not too kind. The question is, do you have to respond it the same way? Maybe no. Do you have to respond it immediately when you're also worked up? Maybe no. Then also when we talk about email communication, there are some of us who just write in brief, okay. You want to write okay, then you write okay. It speaks to your professional brand. There is somebody who may not understand what okay really means. Learn to, enhance your communication, both, especially on email, because on email, somebody may not call you to explain what you wrote or to explain the tone that you have actually put on that email, but they will have a perception about you. When it comes to nonverbal communication, I want to look at this for something that I've actually seen a lot in a meeting. Maybe you don't like Purity in the meeting. She's a colleague that you don't like, and she's presenting today in that meeting. And then you keep making faces and people can see. It speaks to your brand, and that really looks very unprofessional. At the workplace, we don't have to be friends. Friends where we are going for coffee together, for tea together, for lunch together, but we have to be professional friends. So even if I don't like you, I will still be able to communicate to you, reach out to you and be able to say, can we work on this? Do you have this data? So it's really important to look at your communication and also verbal communication. What comes out of your mouth? Let whatever comes out of your mouth be very professional. Moving on. My screen seems not to be moving. I need to escape and try again. Okay. I don't know what's up. Just give me a second. All right. Abby, am I still audible now that there was that hang up?
Yeah, you are.
I am. Okay, sorry about that. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, strategies, build an authentic network, either internally or externally. We all require that, a network of people that speak about us and speak positively about us, and also mention our names whenever there is an opportunity. This authentic network are people who can give you feedback. We've talked about it. People that can challenge you, people that can hold your hand, people that can mentor you, and people that can even coach you, people that can correct you, and tell you, today, I liked your presentation, but maybe you could have spoken like this. I didn't like the way you answered Purity because of this and this. Maybe you could have kept quiet, or you could have said it this way. You really require that. We say our net worth is defined by the kind of networks that we have. So I don't want to belabor on that. Make sure that you have a network internally and externally. Now, let me talk about internal, because we are talking about the workplace. Can you imagine that in a meeting, when people are looking for people to do a project, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about projects and projects and projects, because they propel you and they elevate you beyond your job description. when people are looking for somebody who they can actually put in their projects, cross-departmental projects, for example, departmental becomes easy, but cross-departmental is a bit challenging because some people may not even know you exist much as you work in the organization. Imagine if you have no authentic network internally, your name will never feature in some of those projects. So because you're always alone, and the people that you hang around with, or the people that you always have around yourself, is maybe your desk mate and the desk mate on the right and the left. Beyond that, there is no other network. Nobody else knows you. Ensure that you build networks. But building networks here doesn't mean stepping on people's toes. Some of the things that were dropped on the chat when we were talking about what makes organizations complex. It is authentic networks, people that are genuine. But for you to build authentic networks, don't you think that you also need to be authentic? Of course, we also need to be authentic to be able to do that. Collaboration, I've talked about teamwork. Be a collaborator. Be that person that once you're put somewhere, whether it is in your department, whether it is in a cross-department activity or a team building activity, be the person that collaborates. You're easy to work with. You go in prepared. You go in with ideas. Have you seen people within your teams? Have you seen people that you're working on something? They will not contribute anything. They will actually just appear there to build up the numbers. I'm sure you have seen those people. And once that activity is being discussed, your name never features on anything that you contributed. You will hear so-and-so said this, oh no, this was so-and-so's idea, oh, this one was doing this, oh, this one actually volunteered to do the analysis for us, this one volunteered to present for us, this volunteered to bring some innovative ideas that helped us, move the needle around this project or this activity that we were doing, and then you're that person that your name never featured anywhere. You can imagine what that happens. You feel frustrated because you wonder, why is it that I see people moving forward and I'm not moving forward? It also goes back to what we said. What does success mean to you? Then you need to be able to set your own clear goals. Remember, we talked about the organization goals. What are your own goals? Why are you in that organization? Actually, why are you working? What are your goals? And we say your goals need to be SMART. Ensure that you set goals that you can achieve within the organization, and then go ahead and have an action plan for them. Did you have goals for this year? We are going to June. How far are you with your goals? Have you ever turned back and opened your notebook where you journaled those goals? Where is your action plan? What support did you require to be able to achieve your goals? Who have you reached out to help you to achieve those goals? What investment did you require for you to be able to achieve your goals? What plans did you make around to ensure that your investment is achievable? Do not set goals that will frustrate you. When you set so many goals and you can't achieve them, you feel like a failure. But indeed, you're not. You just need to bite what you can actually be able to chew. You better have 2 goals and achieve them, or work on them and achieve them. Align your personal goals to the organizational goals. That's the only way you will actually be able to succeed. Be resilient and persistent. These organizations that we work in, or the workplaces, as we've said, are complex in whatever dynamics that they come. But use those complexities as opportunities for growth. If you're working with team members that you feel you're struggling a bit, go further and ask yourself, what can I learn from these team members? What can I learn from my line manager? Because maybe I'm feeling a bit frustrated. I'm a bit, I feel a bit misaligned. What can I learn? Maybe you are actually misaligned because you've not understood what their goals are or what actually drives them. Seek to understand. If somebody is so detailed and you're feeling that, I'm a bit frustrated, they always want me to return this, do this, ask yourself, what can I learn? Maybe you're actually going to learn how to be an effective time manager. you're going to learn how to be effective in your work on presentation skills, because maybe every time you're told you need to correct this, your presentation didn't do this, your presentation was not like this, you need to ask yourself, how can I actually use this and leverage your needs as an opportunity for me for growth? So always ask, what can I learn in this situation? Have a growth mindset. And growth mindset here, I'm happy for the people that are here, because these are the people that actually are demonstrating some of the things we are talking about, like a growth mindset. Growth mindset means having the desire to know more, being curious. Do you know that the modern organizations want people that have skills, people that are curious, people that are self-driven? Some of us, the only skill that we acquired is maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And the world has really changed. Organizations have evolved. The modern day of work has changed. And we still stick to one skill that we earned 10 years ago that is almost becoming obsolete. How much are you reskilling and upskilling? And we have so many tools that we can use to do this. Some are actually free. Instead of always being online or watching a movie, maybe you can set 10 minutes. Watching a movie is good, but maybe you can also set 10 minutes and do something that will elevate you professionally and internally within your organization. You can imagine an organization that has changed and has input maybe regulations in place. Regulations have changed, and you need to actually be part of that team that is driving that conversation and that agenda. And the last time you understood the regulations around your work is maybe 10 years ago, and the regulations have been updated and you have no idea. Embrace a growth mindset. And the other thing is around this area that makes employees sometimes struggle with feeling like they are succeeding or lack of success is where you join an organization with the skills that you have or the expertise, because you're hired because you are the right person. Let's start there. And then 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, new people join the organization. They are self-driven. They have a growth mindset. They embrace learning. They come in. They make use of their free time. They learn, they learn, they learn. They actually came at a level lower than you. You are actually showing them things here and there, but they have upskilled and reskilled. After 5 years, that person shoots up professionally within the organization. And then you start complaining, oh, you know, it is, they are not seeing me. They don't see any value that I bring, you know, comparing this person who came the other day. They came the other day, but they've invested in themselves. They've aligned their skill set to the modern day work environment. And therefore they have actually overtaken you. So embrace your growth mindset. As you do this, try and read research out here and be able to understand where organizations are going and how they are moving forward. Embrace lifelong learning. You can learn through mentors, you can learn through friends, you can learn through the YouTube, you can learn through even Twitter, the former Twitter X. You can learn from all these tools. There are so many if you really want to learn. I want to read this quote by the former IBM CEO, Mr. Jimmy Rometty, that said, the only way you survive is you continually transform into something else. Don't be stagnant. Transform your skill set into something else. And that coming from somebody who worked in a tech company tells you that, especially like, you know, you also need to understand the organization you're working in, the role you're in. Some roles move very fast. You're in the tech, you're in IT, you're not upgrading yourself. You need to be able to take advantage of some of these free certifications that are there. And even if they are not free, have a goal plan for yourself. Know that I need to have this certification by this particular time, and then invest in it. Plan your finances accordingly. The other one I want to talk about is time management. You know, everything we've talked about since we started has everything to do with time and how we manage our time. If we don't manage our time properly, you know what will happen. And there are so many tools that you can use. You can use the 80-20 rule. You can use what they call eat that frog, that big frog in the morning. But today I want to look at the Eisenhower model that talks about things that are important and things that are not important, things that are urgent and things that are not urgent. For example, where do you spend most of your time? Is it on things that are not important and not urgent? But before we even go there, do you have a notebook where you have jotted in things that are not important, not urgent? Things that are not important, but they are urgent. Things that are important and urgent. Do you know what you need to do around those things? Something that is important and urgent, it means that you need to do it and do it now. Something that is not important and it is urgent, but it is not important, you can delegate. Today, we are not going to have time to go into all these boxes, but things like delegation is a whole area. It will take us a whole webinar to look at delegation. But I want to say something around delegation. When something is not important and not urgent, that you need to delegate, please delegate, but go further and ensure that there is clarity to the person you're delegating to. If you are here and you're one person that is being delegated to, don't complain and say, you know, they have added me extra work. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Because it is maybe something you've never handled. It is a task you've never handled. And out of handling that task, you're actually going to upgrade your skills that will elevate you within the organization and even without the organization or outside the organization. So this is one of the tools that you can use. You can actually create your own box every week. You can create your box and fill it up. And then every day you're ticking and shifting things around because things change, things change around the organization. Make sure you have a to-do list. I don't know whether today morning you have your to-do list. I don't know whether this webinar was within your to-do list. I don't know whether today being a Friday, you're going to achieve your to-do list. Some of us, Friday, you end the day at 4 and, you're rushing to watch television. Is there anything else you can do? Watching television is good, but please also put time, more time, 20% of your input into what gives you 80% of your output. Then own your performance. This is one thing also most of the things here you can't delegate. Own your performance and be consistent in delivering stellar or high performance. I can tell you that many employees struggle around performance. The moment you have, you're struggling with your performance and you start having those performance-related discussions with your line manager, you start feeling a bit frustrated within the organization or with your work, but it shouldn't be the case. Ask yourself, what am I required to deliver? When is it supposed to be delivered? How should I deliver? And create an action plan. Do you know what your performance objectives or performance indicators for the whole year are? Have you gone back to them? Have you checked where you are? Have you gone to your line manager and said, by the way, even before we have the performance discussion or the media reviews, if you have a media cycle, if you have quarterly cycles, all those things, have you ever gone back and say, give me feedback on my performance, so that by the time you're doing, the organization is doing the pulse checks, you already know where you are, you knew where you're struggling so that you can actually improve. Not many organizations will keep an employee that is not performing. Please, for anybody that we are with here today, make sure that you don't fall into the grid of those underperforming employees. Own your performance. Nobody can deliver for you. You will need to deliver your own performance consistently. And it is not difficult because you just need to understand what is required of you and do it. Then step out of your comfort zone and make it happen. This one where we said, there is somebody who looks at their job description every day. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. step out of your comfort zone, take up more roles, take up projects, take up activities that your line managers struggle with, your peers, whenever they are struggling with something, raise up your hand and say, oh, you're struggling with this. Can I be of help to you? You know, add value so that they can also add value. Most organizations, you see, when they are doing their reward and recognition, especially recognition aspect, what do? They don't just recognize somebody who did bare minimum. They recognize somebody who goes over and above. For you to go over and above, you will have to step out of your comfort zone. Be a problem solver. Organizations exist to solve a problem. Nowadays, we say for you to be, to even get a gig for somebody who is looking for something they can do on the side or to open a business, nobody will come to you if you're not solving a problem. And also, most people detest somebody who is always, you know, you're always bringing problems. What is your solution to these problems? Have at least a proposed solution so that now people can enrich on that. Don't be somebody who always goes to people's desks with, you know, when you deal with someone who complains about this, complains about that, complains, you know, sometimes you feel like asking, so what have you done about it yourself? Don't be that person that people ask, what have you done about it yourself? Be that person people say, they have, I know if Purity is here, she has a solution that we can work with. You know, some of us go to a meeting, you're invited for a meeting, you are well aware that a meeting has been scheduled, you knew the agenda of the meeting, you don't prepare for the meeting, and therefore when you go there, you have nothing to offer. And when you're called for a meeting, sometimes it's a meeting maybe to brainstorm on something. Make sure you go with your proposal. Even if it is small, at least people will appreciate. It will help to move the discussion forward. So be a problem solver, embrace total well-being. You know, we look at work-life balance. I think that has been overtaken by events now. With the way life is and the way organizations are and the environments we operate, you may not achieve 100% work-life balance, but you integrate all these things around the facets within your life. You integrate them and ensure that there is some level of balance. For you to be able to do this, you need to be physically well, socially well, financially well, spiritually well. So you need to ensure that all those areas of your life are all working. Wherever you're struggling, find support. Look for support. If you're struggling with your finances, don't be that person that emails come to the organization because they are actually embroiled in a battle with these people we call loan sharks or Shylocks. I don't know what you call them in your country. You know, you go and take money, you don't repay that money, and then those people now follow you to your organization. You know, it speaks to your brand, it embarrasses you, and it can even find you in a disciplinary process where maybe you did what they call embarrassing an organization and stuff like that. Balance all these things. Some of us are embarrassed in the organization because of the relationships that we have. Manage all these things. We all know all these things, but you can actually embrace total well-being by ensuring that every facet of your life, you've worked around it. And where you're struggling, reach out and get support. In everything that we have spoken here, when you achieve a milestone, remember to celebrate. There's that feeling when you've achieved something. There's that feeling when you say, today I'm going to go online and learn for 10 minutes. Or today I'm going to reach out to a peer of mine and give her feedback. I know she's good at this, he's good at this, but I think they can improve on this. And you package it and prepare yourself and look at the right moment when to go and speak to them. You go and speak to them and they appreciate and they actually like, I'm going to work on it. In fact, I'll come back to you with results. Celebrate those small wins. They mean a lot. You know, when you work in a complex organization, if you don't remember to celebrate your small wins, nobody will celebrate you. It starts with you celebrating so that the world can see it. So having said that, being successful is about being intentional and proactive about your own purpose. Intentional and proactive. You can't delegate things that are around you. You know, you can't delegate your own success. Somebody can't drive it for you, sorry. You have to drive it because you know what success means to you. You can delegate tasks here that help you to achieve your success, but the whole concept of you being successful, you have to own it. And you have to be intentional and you have to be proactive. Proactive means go out of your way to do things, make things happen. Don't be the person that just sits back and waits for things to happen. The question is, how will they happen? When we talk about this aspect of your own purpose, do you know why you exist? Do you have a purpose? When you signed your contract, remember we sign employee contracts as individuals. When you signed your contract and you went out, preferred a particular organization, got the contract, got onboarded, what is your purpose of being in that organization? Own that, ladies, gentlemen, own that so that you can actually drive it for your own success. So we have looked at success in its own meaning. We've looked at some of the strategies that we can, and behaviors that we can adopt to be able to be successful. We've also understood that for us to actually be successful within the organization, it goes beyond just doing the bare minimum, just what is prescribed for us. It goes beyond that, going out of our way to upskill ourselves, going out of our way to add value to somebody else, going out of our way to ensure we can manage our time properly, and all those things that we have talked about. If there are any questions, I would like to take them. And before I take the questions, I want to just quickly look at some of the things that make organizations complex that were talked about and see what we have not addressed. I think we've addressed a lot of them on the strategies. There's somebody who talked about a diverse data-driven aspect. Remember, we have moved to a world of data. You need to understand in your own area, if you're in HR, if you're in IT, you're in security, wherever you are, be a person that understands data, how data is arrived at, and what that data means to your role, to your department, to your organization, and articulate everything you do. Have data. You know, you can't go to an organization, to a meeting, and people are talking about something and you want to counter it, you want to agree or disagree, whatever, but agree with facts that are driven by data, disagree with facts and facts that are driven by data. We are in a data world, so ensure that you understand data around the area that you're in. I think the others we've talked about, we've been able to talk about them much as they came. Yeah, so that is the end of my presentation. Those are some of the tips that I thought we could share today. We can always discuss. There is a lot because, you know, organizations are different. We are all working in different organizations. So our experiences and whatever we are going through in respective organizations may be different. So we can always discuss that. Now, at this point, if you have questions, drop them on the chat. And we'll be able to take them. Thank you, Abby, I'll hand over to you. The screen on the screen now is all yours on CRS. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.